this
You're never
war
going to see that,
in
though.
Europe.
We're the country that never apologizes. I mean, it was George H.W. Bush after the CIA like shot down an Iranian airliner in the 80s, if I recall. And it all came out publicly. And George H.W. Bush said, I will, the quote is amazing because he says, I will never apologize for the United States, no matter what the facts are. Jimmy Carter, he had an opportunity to move towards restorative justice with the Vietnam War. And I don't mean to speak ill of Jimmy Carter as he lays on his deathbed right now, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are like sneering points when people die. I fucking hate that shit. Like it's so lame. But speaking of bumper stickers, right? But I will say that Jimmy Carter, one of the things that sticks out in my mind is that the quote from him in which he said that the destruction on both sides was mutual with the Vietnam War, and there was not going to be a movement towards reparations. And it was sort of like, what the fuck? Like, how can you say the destruction was mutual? I won't get into it, but the United States killed millions of people in that region, and talk about this might transfer us over to thinking about East Palestine, Ohio, because they also despoiled the region with weapons that and chemical weapons that went into the soil and groundwater in Vietnam. And I mean, it's a genocide that is continuing. It's something that Vietnam still has some of the highest rates of birth defects and childhood cancers and early age cancer deaths because of the water and the soil and the chemicals that the United States dropped during the Vietnam War. It's unbelievably grotesque, honestly. So then you're saying like, wait, this is the same country that's telling me to like get on the good side here. Yeah. And I know that's like an easy argument, it's an easy, like, I caught you, hypocrite. But the other part of it is just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like that it's heavy. And the fucking depleted uranium shit in Iraq and Fallujah. There was just a fucking long piece about Fallujah, and the kids there experienced the same thing. So I'm like, okay, they did it again. And they all use the same goddamn language that they're using now of liberal interventionism to fucking fuck up a country so bad that the kids come out deformed for fucking generations. Like that is evil on a level that's unspeakable. And if you live in those fucking countries, I mean, I'm sitting here an American benefiting from all of it, and I'm disgusted by it. I mean, imagine living in those places. I mean, that's the kind of shit that, I don't know. That's the kind of shit that just sort of just settles in so heavy that you're kind of like, well, where do you go from there?
Yeah. Well, I think that part of where I would take it is it's so interesting that so much in the Ukraine story comes down to Putin's lies and the open ways that, like, on the side, powerful figures in the Kremlin will be like, oh yeah, everyone just lies to him, and he had to figure that out during the war, and that changed some of his strategies, and he's lying to the Russian people. But here's where I'm going with it. The U.S. lies about so much of its own wars too, so that the lies of Iraq, the lies of Vietnam, and the failure to repair, the failures of reparations, these are equally symptomatic of a diseased political culture as anything you're going to ascribe to Russia as well. And the point, I think, is not to say what about for its own sake. Like, hypocrites be hypocrites. I think part of it is to, number one, also kind of manufacture an opinion about what states do. And